Hello everyone, my name is DoomFish. In today's video, I'll be showing you how you can make custom fireworks in Minecraft. There's a lot of different recipes you can actually use to make these fireworks, and there's tons and tons of different combinations that really are not necessarily intuitive to make, so you might not exactly know how to do all of them. And that's exactly what I'll be showing you how to do today. So first of all, we have the most basic firework, and this is the one that you actually get from the creative menu. It's very simple. When we right click on a block, we're going to see that the firework goes up a little bit, and then it goes ahead and sort of vanishes. And you can actually make these fireworks by going into the crafting bench. You add one piece of paper and one piece of gunpowder in here, and there you go. It doesn't really matter where you put this in the creative menu. You can do this in your inventory, whatever, and you get your firework rockets. So these have a flight duration of 1. This is the shortest flight duration, and you'll see they function pretty much the same as the ones we get from our creative inventory. Now we can actually change the flight duration by adding more or less gunpowder to our firework rocket. So go back to our crafting menu. We put, again, one piece of paper. We can put one gunpowder in, and we see that if we get our rocket here, it has a flight duration of 1. Put another piece of gunpowder in, flight duration of 2. Put another one in, and a flight duration of 3. So we'll go ahead and make the ones with a flight duration of 3. We can compare those to the flight duration of 1. So right now, this is flight duration of 1. Goes up pretty high. We have a flight duration of 3, it goes all the way up there, so it goes very, very high, and 2 is sort of in the middle of those two. Now, although these firework rockets might not be the most impressive visually, they definitely have a pretty important use, and that is to refuel your elytra flight mid-flight. So go ahead, put on elytra, and even from this height I can go ahead and try and glide. You don't really go that far. If you go ahead and use a firework rocket, right now I will use the fireworks with a flight duration of 3. We'll see that we can right click in the air, make sure you don't click on a block, and then we just go flying, and as long as we have firework rockets we can continue this flight up here. Now there actually is a difference depending on the flight duration you have, so for example, if I use the flight duration of 1, I actually will get propelled a shorter distance. So it's kind of hard to tell, but I sort of start to decelerate sooner with the flight duration of 1 rockets than I do with the flight duration of 3. However, I would definitely say that in your normal gameplay, I'd probably use the flight duration of 1 since it's the most efficient amount of flight you get per each gunpowder invested. So just make the normal firework rockets with 1 paper, 1 gunpowder for your basic elytra flying. Now if you want to make a firework that actually has an explosion in the air, you're going to need a firework star. To make that, you're always going to need 1 piece of gunpowder. You're going to need any combination of dyes. You can either have 1 dye, you can have 2 dyes, and you sort of get like a mix here. You can have all the way up to 8 dyes, and you can use some additional ingredients that are completely optional. For now, I'll show you just this basic setup where we have 1 gunpowder, 1 red dye, and 1 white dye. We'll see that we produce a firework star. Now we can use this firework star in our crafting bench again to make a firework. So we just use the same basic recipe for a firework, 1 paper, 1 gunpowder. We can also put in a firework star, and it gets blown up when we use our firework. Then we can do the same thing we did earlier. We can put in more or less gunpowder to make the charge or the delay that it explodes greater or shorter. And for now, I'm going to use 2 gunpowder here, so we have a flight duration of 2 with our firework star in this firework. Now go ahead, use the firework right here, and we'll see that it goes up, explodes into red and white little particle effects up there. And there's a bunch of other combinations you can do, and I'll show you those extra ingredients you need to make those combinations. Now here, I've got the same setup as before, but I've got some 4 extra ingredients in my hotbar here. Now you can only use one of these specific 4 ingredients, those being fire charges, golden nuggets, any head, so a mob head, a player head, both will work, and a feather. Now with the fire charge, all we have to do is put it in here, and it's the same for all the other ingredients, and we get to make our firework star. This one is a large ball instead of a small ball. We'll go ahead and do the same thing with a gold nugget now, and we'll see that we have the star shape effect. So these sort of dictate the shape that your explosion will be. We can do the same thing with a player head or any other head, and we'll get the creeper shaped firework star. And lastly, our feather gives us our burst firework star. Now just like before, I've gone ahead and combined our firework star with the paper and the gunpowder needed to make our rockets, and you can see in our hotbar, we have 4 sets of rockets. So this is the rocket with the large ball effect. It is much bigger than the small ball, as you might expect. This is with the, I believe, the star-shaped effect. And then this is the creeper head effect. And this one's kind of strange because its rotation is sort of random. So you can see that time it sort of faces away from us. Maybe this time it'll face more head-on. But you can't really predict where it's going to be facing as much. And then this one is the next effect. As you can see, it has a little burst right there. So now that we've gone over the 4 main shape effects, we can go over some of the additional effects you can use. So here, I've got the recipe to make a large ball firework star with the white and red colors, just like we've seen before. But now, we have these 2 extra ingredients, those being diamond and glowstone dust. So when we put 1 glowstone dust in, we'll see that our firework star has the twinkle effect on the bottom here. If we put 1 diamond in, we'll see that it has the trail effect. And then if we put both in at the same time, we get the twinkle and trail effect on the same ball. So unlike the shape effect, you can have both these effects on the same exact firework star. So with the firework star with the glowstone in it, we have the twinkle effect, and as you might expect, it just twinkles and has a nice little sound effect to it as well. And then with the trail effect, using diamonds, we have this nice lingering effect right here. And then using both, as you might expect, we have a combination of both the effects at once. When you're making your firework, you can also use multiple firework stars on the same firework to create a firework that has multiple explosions going on at once. So to do that, all we have to do is put multiple fireworks in with our crafting recipe, and we can put our paper and gunpowder in as well. So if you're using 1 gunpowder, we can have up to 7 firework stars in here. If you're using 2, you can have 6. And if you're using 3 gunpowder, you can have up to 5, just because of the limited space of the crafting window. For now, I'll go ahead and just use 1, and we'll get our firework rocket right here. And it describes all of the different effects you have on that 1 firework rocket underneath. And we'll see that if we go ahead and launch this up, we have a bunch of different effects going off at once in the same area. So you can't really control where those effects happen, they just all sort of happen in the same area. So if you use too many firework stars, it might get a little bit cluttered. Like this one has a bunch of different colors, and it's kind of hard to make out which effects are which, but of course you can do this however you want. Now with these firework rockets, you want to be careful that you don't use the ones that have an explosion effect on them with your elytra, because otherwise something like this might happen, we try and use it, and you will take a lot of damage from this explosion right here. I have no armor on and I just took 5.5 hearts of damage. That's something you probably don't want to have happen. One of the coolest, lesser known facts about these firework rockets is that if they have an explosion effect to them, and you put them in your offhand slot right here, and use a crossbow in your other hand, then you can actually use them to deal damage to enemies. So we can see the creep over here, fired at the bottom, we deal damage. And there's more damage the more firework stars you add, and it doesn't really matter what type the firework stars are, it deals more damage. Now, as you can see, I've been hitting the ground most of the time, but if you fire them in the air, you'll see that they'll explode a certain duration after you fire it. So it's a really cool effect, you can use this for decoration, or you can use it to, clean up your base from any mobs around here, although that is a very expensive way of killing mobs, it's probably one of the coolest. And again, the more firework stars you add, the more damage you do, so this can actually be a pretty potent weapon in some situations. However, one thing to note is that some enchantments might not work right with this crossbow. For example, the piercing effect really has no effect on these firework rockets when you fire them out of a crossbow. And last but not least, you can also fire your firework rockets with these stars or without the stars, with a button and a dispenser, or some redstone hooked up to a dispenser. We can fire a rocket up in the air, and it'll explode like this. You can use this to create some pretty complicated firework shows, where you have multiple dispensers firing up different fireworks at certain time intervals, and you can make some really, really cool stuff. One last thing you can do with your firework stars is if you have a completed firework star, you can actually add one more dye color to it, like so, and it adds a fade to color. You can see we have the fade to white right here. And if we can't do this again, we'll see that it just replaces the current fade color, so it was white before, now it's blue. Now I can do fade to black, and it creates a pretty cool effect when fired. And that effect looks something like this. As you can see, the particles fade to a dark black color. So that's pretty much everything there is to know about how to use and how to craft custom fireworks in Minecraft. You can use this pretty much wherever you want on your server. Let's say, for example, you want to celebrate the upcoming holiday of New Year's Eve. You can do so by making a really cool fireworks show to impress all of your buddies. So if you enjoyed the video or found it informative, please do leave a like, and you can subscribe for more content just like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.